Hello everyone, welcome to the session. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you're
Good evening,
audible.
sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good
Okay,
evening,
good
sir.
evening everyone. Yeah, all right. So, all right. So, have you gone through the last sessions, the previous sessions of project? So, in the previous session, we have come to the point where we can, log in and register new users to the database. And at this point, we can only, yeah. So, the next step at this point would be to create more controllers on, the admin dashboard, user dashboard, things like that, and more controllers on creating the transaction and things like that. So in today's session, what we'll do is, now that we are able to register new users and log in with that particular user, we will create or I mean we'll modify the static dashboards that we have created, right? User dash and admin dash, and that to get rendered according to the type of user. uh, okay, yeah, so we'll go to that part. Yes, go ahead, Narsima.
Quick question. How much weightage will be given to the aesthetics of the user interface?
Not much. I mean, there is no. See, this is aesthetics is the optional requirement, so it does not hold any weightage as such.
Okay. All right. Then it works because thanks.
Yeah, it's okay. So, I mean, your focus should be on the backend, the Flask part.
Yeah.
How the application looks is not an issue. I mean, it's not something that we're looking at. Okay, at least at my one point of view.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Manan.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hmm.
Sir, last time we were able to do the login with the user. You mentioned the type of the user as general or admin.
Right.
So you said that you will also do the functionality for admin, same login form, right?
Yes.
So you will do that today, right?
Yeah.
And
So today, I mean, see, currently, okay, just let me share my screen and open the application.
and also, sir, will you give a brief overview of the flash messages that gets uh, displayed?
Flash messages.
Flash,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll check. See, it is basically something that is, collectively done by Bootstrap and Jinja, right? So
Okay,
you have to just look at that. Okay, we'll see.
yeah, please.
Mm-mm. Yeah. So my screen is shared. So this is our folder where we are working. So I'll just open VS Code here. Okay. So at this point, if we go to our controllers, yeah. So what was happening is, we were able to log in, we were able to register as new users, and we were able to log in with that user, right? And so that was it. Once the user is identified, so when you try to log in and the student sorry, and the user exists in the database, then that's it, you will be rendered to user dashboard. Okay, doesn't matter if you're, even if you're trying to log in with admin. So that differentiation we have to incorporate today. All right, so this is the point where the user as well as the password is verified, right? So at this point, now the next step would be, the application should be able to check the type of user. Okay, so the user is retrieved, but then now the application should be able to check the type of user, and based on that it should be able to go to any particular dashboard. All right. Now the thing is, what we are going to do is, instead of this, so this is not the right approach, because so currently what is happening, it is only rendering the template, user dashboard, and taking the user from here. Okay, that is not what we want to do. We would do it by creating an a specific or individual endpoint for user dashboard and admin dashboard. Okay, so and that differentiation will be brought about by the type of user. So for that, we will be creating a couple of endpoints. That is, one is endpoint for logging in as user and logging in as admin. Okay, so currently what is happening is, let me go to that. Is this the one we are making? Yeah. Okay, so what is happening at this point is, we have user login. Okay, now user login will be of two type. For example, the user that is trying to log in can be admin or it can be a general user. It can be a general user. So what is the difference in which these endpoints have to be created? So as I said, we will be creating individual endpoints for this. For example, if I want to log in as admin, it will be verifying the type of the user. Okay, checking the type of user, whether it is admin or general user, and based on that it will redirect to the new endpoint. Okay, so it should be able to redirect to admin endpoint or general user endpoint. Okay, so admin endpoint and general user endpoint. Now we have to see how these two things or these two endpoints will be different or same. Okay, so in case, for example, if I'm trying to log in as admin, it does not matter what is the credential, what is the primary key or things like that, right? Because there is only, I mean, the roles of admins will be same. There can be one or more admin, but we in this application will be working with only one admin as of now. So let's say there is one admin. So what will be the possible endpoint for that? Slash admin, right? That's all. We don't need to specify who is the ID. I mean, what is the ID of the admin, or who is that particular user. But in case of user, for example, if I'm trying to log in as general user, only this much is not sufficient. Why? Because there can, so in as far as the nature of our application is concerned, there is one admin, multiple users, right? And what is rendered on the dashboard will depend on who has signed in, and not only general user, but who as specifically who as general user, right? So along with user, we also have to provide the ID of user to individually retrieve the data of that user, particular to the user, right? So this will be the difference between admin endpoint and user endpoint. Okay, so this will have this ID. This part will be dynamic. Okay, and this will be dealt with using converter. Okay, so that is how we are going to create these two endpoints. Okay, I hope this is clear. So now we'll move on to creating the endpoints. Okay.
Sir, sir, admin
Yeah,
is
yeah.
only one person.
Yes.
Admin is only one person, but user can be many.
Right.
Okay. But if there are more than one admin, this is like two admin, then
Yeah, so in that case, we'll have to change the admin endpoint also, but our application would have one endpoint, one admin only, because anyway, functionally, the admin, admin functionalities will not change depending on who the admin is. Okay, whereas in case of users, the transaction and everything, the transaction data and everything will change depending on the user, right? So if you look at the wireframe, doesn't matter. I mean, am I able to zoom it? Anyways, I'll open it from here. Yeah. So if you look at the wireframe, what is happening in case of admin dashboard, doesn't matter who the admin is, there will be these three type of tables created, right? But in case of user dashboard, there will be one table, but the transaction, the entries of this table will be dependent on who has logged in, right? So user specific data. In this case, in admin case, it will not be user specific data. It will be the entire data the application has in case of transactions, right? Entire transaction data.
got it.
Somebody had raised hand or put it in chat. I'm not sure. Yes, Narsimha, tell me.
Yeah, so let us say I'm on a browser. I first log in, right, using one of the default screen that comes up, right?
Okay.
And after login, it takes me to one of the pages, depending on whether I'm an admin or a user. Now
Right.
I open another tab in the same browser, and let's say I type in the endpoint directly. Should it take me to the login? How should it take me to the login page, or should it just assume that I'm logged in?
In this case, we'll have to check. I mean, see, the thing is, once it
And what is
is
the expected behavior, not what we will. Then we'll build based is that requirement.
okay,
Right?
expected behavior, it is up to you. See, for example,
Okay.
if you want that once the user is logged in, and even if you open the new tab and open the new tab and then put the same endpoint, it gives you the same page and the same amount of data that will require your system to save the session information, right?
Correct.
User
That's what I
information in
was
the
coming
session.
to. From an implementation perspective, it is like storing the session information.
Right.
Yeah, but if I
So
open a new browser
hmm,
window,
hmm.
in that case, will it be treated as a new session or will it be treated as same session?
Same
Because
browser, it will be same session. So it will open, even if you change the window, it will open with the same data.
okay, okay,
Right.
thank you.
So that is up to you. See, that will involve us to, authenticate the user and save information in the session also, which is not required, not a core functionality.
No, no, but when you're talking about, let's say, admin, right? When a person clicks on any link on that after the admin login happens,
Hmm.
how will the system know that it is the admin who is logged in? That has to be stored in the session anyway.
No, no. So that is actually specified in the model. So we have, so in the
Model will
models,
decide, right? Who is
right.
the
So
admin?
what we have done is, while creating user model, we have specified the type of user.
No,
Okay.
no,
So
I
this is,
understood. You
hmm,
specify the type of user, that makes sense.
hmm,
But when I logged in, once let's say I've typed in my name and password and logged in,
okay. Hmm,
right? Then I click on it then takes me to an endpoint which then renders a page. I
right.
click on one of the links there or take an action on that,
Hmm,
right?
hmm, hmm.
Then how does it know what next page to show? And maybe that page content of the page will depend on admin or are you a generic user? So
Yes.
how will the
So
system
yeah. So
continue to know
that,
that?
right. So that's what we are going to do today, right? So
Oh,
here,
okay, okay, okay.
yeah. So here,
So
till
we
this
will have to
point,
add it to the session, right? At some point.
not required, because we can do that without adding into session also.
Oh, okay. I would like to understand that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. And every time if you want to, so for example, in terms of general user, if you want to save any data, we will be taking care of the user ID at every endpoint. Okay. So in that sense, it will remains different.
Okay, okay. So you're using the parameter to the endpoint as in which you're passing the user ID.
Right. Right.
Okay, okay,
Right.
okay.
So if
Now
you see
understood.
here, that is the reason
Yes.
I've created this two as different endpoints, right? So admin doesn't matter. There is only one admin. So and anyway, if there were multiple admins, all of them would have seen the same thing. So there is no point of segregating them out as in who admin or which admin has logged in, right? Unless we want to. Okay. But in case
Well,
of
I
user,
understand security is not a concern here.
right,
Otherwise,
right.
passing an ID could be a problem then, right? Because anyone can just.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Obviously, yeah. So at this stage, yes, anyone can just know the endpoint and then directly go to the user dashboard without even logging in.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Very helpful.
Okay. Was there anything else on the chat? Wireframe? No, it is. So wireframe regarding the actual project or this project?
The actual project.
Actual.
Actual project, no, anyway, so it is just for the reference, right? So what we are doing here is this wireframe kind of, so whenever I want to explain the flow, what I just
Okay.
do is open the wireframe and show the flow from here. So this should
Yeah,
come,
because
that
it
should
had a
come.
menu bar and all that, so that's why I wanted to know whether it was mandatory or.
No, 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 it's not mandatory. You can have your own interface, right?
Okay. Thank you.
So see, the thing is, more defined wireframe kind of gives an idea about the flow of application, what kind of window would come after when you click on this, click on
No,
that.
no, this is helpful. There's no
So
doubt
the
about it.
flow of the wireframe should be same
Yes, yes,
in
yes.
our
Yeah, so
application.
that is the only intention
Design
behind
is
giving you the wireframe. It's not that we expect you to create exactly same looking.
design can be different.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that is how it is going to be. And now, so with this, we will create the two endpoints, and then later on, we will see how the particular flow of the application will go according to these endpoints. Go to these endpoints according to the type of login. All right. So I'll just go back to my controllers, and here I'll start creating that route. So first, let us create a simple one, that is the admin login. So it is going to be app.route, and here it will be /admin. All right, and does not require methods because we are not taking any information through this page, but it's okay to put in the methods. Okay, and then we have, let's say, admin login. Okay, and then we will retrieve the user based on the type. So we know that there is only one admin. So okay, so if you see here, I mean, we could have retrieved the user from any of these attributes, but we will do it by the type because we know that there will be only one admin. Okay, in case there are multiple admins, then we'll have to do some changes, but I think that is not required for, not even for this as well as for the main project. So we'll keep it as is. Okay, so it will be user dot query dot filter by right. So this will give me the object directly, and then we will do the render template. So the line that we used here somewhere, this one, we just copy it from here and I'll save it here. Okay, so basically this will not be user underscore dash, it will be admin underscore dash. Okay, so one of the, let me just confirm the template name. So in the templates, we have user underscore dash admin underscore dash, right? And uname is equals to uname. Instead of that, what we'll do is we'll provide the admin object itself. Let's see what is there as such an admin object. Okay, so if I just go back to my admin template, this one, and I do a go live to this, we should be able to see the static admin page, right? So basically what do we need? This is not admin information, right? This is coming from the transaction table. So this has nothing to do with the admin object. What is coming from admin? The name of the admin, right? The name of the admin. But anyway, we are going to put admin, so it doesn't even matter if we put the hard-coded name or not, right? So what I'll do, I will leave it as it is. And in the controllers, I'll just put u underscore name.
So this name, how you are giving?
Which one?
U underscore name.
U underscore name. It is a defined part, no? So if I go to admin dashboard, there is somewhere we have defined, right? If it is hard coded, then it is okay.
You have hard coded it, I think.
One second. Okay, so this is admin dashboard. Yeah, this one, right? Line number 21. So this is hard coded anyway. So there is no point of, passing and pasting it here. So we'll leave it as it is. Okay. And since that was the only information we were sending, we don't even need to do that. Okay. So the only thing that we need to render is admin dashboard. Okay. So we'll save this. That's all for admin dashboard. Okay. Now everything, the buttons and everything that you see, that you are seeing in admin dashboard, this is actually this is actually coming, this would actually cater to every endpoint. So we'll have to create an endpoint for review, we'll have to create an endpoint for cancel and update status. All right, so this is what we'll have to do. So there will be 3 more endpoints that is coming, but it has nothing to do with admin endpoint as such. So we'll leave everything as it is. Okay, so that is about admin. Now let us come to the user part. App dot route, and then there will be slash user slash. Now I want to put the ID, so I'll create a converter, right? So I'll do int colon user underscore ID, just for the sake of more understanding, as in which ID is going, because there is ID for user also, there is ID for transaction also. Okay, so this is how it is going to be, and then we will add the methods also. I'll copy some things from here. Okay, just added methods. Okay, that's all I've copied. Okay, now based on this user ID, we'll retrieve the user, right? So we'll create a user underscore login. Okay, and whatever is passed in the converter will be passed on here. So it will be user ID. Okay, and now based on this user ID, we know that this is an integer and it is primary key. All right, so we can retrieve the user like this. User equals to user dot query dot. We could have used filter by, but since we know that it is primary key, we can directly use user dot query dot get user ID. Okay, now this is important. Why? Because this will retrieve only a particular user who is trying to log in, right? So therefore this specific data specific or ID specific user needs to be retrieved. All right, now we can do the render template. So return render template user underscore dash dot html, and we will need some user information, because if you see the user template user dash, let me do that also, I mean render it. Okay, so if you see the user dashboard, see it is expecting us to put the name, right? Currently it is simply rendered with live server, so it is not taking in the ginger. But when we do it with Flask, it will take it, right? So this username is expected, and transactions are obviously expected. So these transactions will be user specific transaction. This is where one to many relationship that we have created will come into picture. Okay, so we'll do that also. So here we'll need u name underscore u underscore name equals to name equals to user dot name, right? User dot let me see the model to see that, yeah, it is username, right? So it will be user dot username. Okay, so user dot username will put in the value here and it will be shown there. So this is the one thing, this is one thing that we require, and the transactions. So we will need the transaction, user transactions, right? So I will put in that also. Okay, so this is user specific transaction. That is the reason we'll have to retrieve those directly. Okay, now there are multiple ways of doing it. Okay, but we will use the relationship, right? So we have used this thing, right? So this is what we are going to use. So what we are going to write, to get all the transactions that are related to particular user, we will write user dot trans. That's all. Okay, so it will be user, the object, this object dot trans. Okay, so this will directly give me the list of transactions, list of transaction object that is specific to a particular user. Okay, yeah, somebody raised hand.
Yeah, sir.
Hmm.
Sir, for our app, if we have the books like this pertaining to a particular user, how many books he or she uh, I mean,
Red,
read or
issued or read
issued, yeah,
something. Okay, whatever.
yeah. So that
Hmm.
that will come under this user dot books something if
User
we
dot
have
books. So yeah, so what you'll have
transaction
to do,
before.
user table will retrieve the user
Hmm.
object, and in the model, if you'll have to define something like this, right? So
Okay,
this is a pseudo column, if you remember.
pseudo column means
This is not an actual column, right? I
okay,
mean, see,
okay,
if I
okay.
write user dot id, username dot password, all these
Yeah,
columns exist,
okay, okay,
right, in the database, but this column does not. But still, we can retrieve everything because we are actually internally referring to this foreign key part of it,
okay,
right? So if I write user object dot trans, I should be able to get all the transaction of that particular user.
okay.
Okay, and that is evident from the model also. So if we see the transaction model, every transaction has one column, one physical column that saves the user ID. So it is actually internally using that.
Okay.
So we'll see that
Okay.
also.
Okay.
Okay, so this is retrieved, and then we'll have to pass on that also. So transaction, so basically there can be multiple, right? And this is actually going to give us a list. So I'll write a plural name.
This name you are
Transactions.
giving based on the transactions.
Which
The
one?
the transactions name you are giving based on the transaction user will do in
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
So this is just a variable, and I know that user.trans will give me list of objects. Even if there
Okay.
is one, it will be still a list. So that is the reason I'm putting plural here.
Okay. Okay.
It's just a nomenclature that I'm following, so that I know that transaction would have more than one value. Transaction equals to transactions. So what will this do actually? This will help me to iterate through that transaction object. Okay, so we'll see that also. And without directly going on to the onto the this thing user dash and making changes there directly, I'll just show you what is happening with this particular transaction, right? So we'll print everything to see exactly what is getting retrieved. Okay, so this is our user route. Now we need to redirect to these routes, right? So that redirection will happen based on this. Okay, not this, actually, here. All right. So what is going to happen now? Till this point, till line number 19, the user has been authenticated that the user exists in the database and the password is correct and the username is correct. Okay, these things have happened. But now what is happening, what is going to happen after this is we will have to check what is the type. All right. So if this dot user dot type equals to admin, if it is admin, what we'll do, we will return, and we will not do a render template now because we already have defined an endpoint for admin, right? So what I'll do, I'll return a redirect to /admin.
So this
Okay, this is what I'm going
underscore
to do.
users,
Yeah.
this underscore users.
This under, yeah, this underscore user. Okay, so if this underscore user dot type is admin, then we will return redirect to admin. Otherwise, if that is not correct, that is if the type of user is not, if the type of user is not admin, then what we'll do, we'll do a return redirect. But here the problem is, we, along with the /user, we will also have to provide the ID of the user, right? Because how is this endpoint going to get triggered? By the ID, right? /user/ID. So you can either use URL for, or there can be a better, not the better way, but there can be an alternative to do that, is using f-string. So this is a simpler one because I'm just providing one element. Okay, so how do we use it? I'll just use f-string / and then here I will write, so I have that user, right? So it will be this user dot ID, and then we'll end the f string. So what will this do? This will redirect to /user / whatever ID that user has. Okay. Now this will make very, so this will, what will this do? This will log in that particular user only, and based on that user information, it will take us to user dashboard page. Okay. So this is how it is going to be. Now we have written if and else for this. I think that there won't be any other, there won't be any other variation to this. There will be only either admin or it is not an admin, right? So generally it is general we have written, but that is okay, right? And this actually user exists in this block, right? So we can very well use it. Okay, so next time, for example, if the first user whose ID is 1 tries to log in, what will happen? The user gets retrieved from the database. So user object get retrieved from the database. All right. Then from this user object, the password is verified. Then the type is verified. Then based on the type of user, it is going to particular endpoint. Okay, so I'll just save this. Any doubt in this point till this point?
Sir, for the password thing, this underscore user dot password, can we make use of the check password function to check if the password is correct? I mean,
Check
if user
password function. I'm not sure
user
about that. Is it a defined function? What is this function? Where is this
uh,
function coming from?
so if I was trying to use the hash function for password.
Right, right, right.
From that, I came to know check password.
Okay.
So
No, I think the
Okay.
check password is part of the
part of the
flash login.
hash.
Okay. Hashlib.
No, not hash.
Not
Hash
actually the
security
Okay, okay,
or
okay.
that hash password
Okay. Yeah, you can use. You can use.
you can
So
use
see
it.
what is happening. See, at the end of the day, what is happening once you save the password, once you hash it and save in the database, every time the user puts in the password, that has to be hashed and the hash has to be equated.
Equated, yeah.
Right. So you make sure that whenever this happens, this, right? So this password is actually storing the string that is put in into the form. Then you convert this into the hash and then verify it from the model.
Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, it will always become incorrect.
Okay.
Right. So if the string does not change, for example, my password is 1234. Even so, when I, while creating the user, 1234 gets hashed into some very long digit, let's say 16 digit long password, and gets saved into database. Right. So the next time when I try to log in and when I put 1234 password, that hash should exactly match with the one that is already sitting in the database.
Okay.
All right.
And
So in that case, it gets verified.
that
So
matching, yeah, sorry.
yeah. So at the front end side, you are putting in your password only 1234, but at the
Mm.
back end side, the hash are getting very equated
Verified.
or
Okay.
checked.
Mhm. So that checking has to be done here only in
Yes.
this
Yeah.
underscore user.
Yeah.
Or
In backend itself, you'll have to do. But I think if check password is there, it exists. I did not
Mhm.
work with it, but if it already exists, then I don't think you'll have to convert the password by it. It might be it is doing it internally.
Converting, I mean, into
Converting
16.
meaning whatever password the user puts in while logging in,
Mm.
that password needs to be converted. Converted meaning that
Yeah,
password needs to be hashed,
hashed.
right?
Yeah.
So that
And that
hashing
means,
is getting internally being done by check password is what I'm assuming.
yeah. We have to define that in the model check
Hmm.
password function. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So we are not using any hashing as of now. So this is very straightforward.
Okay. But we
Okay.
can make use of,
But if we want to use, what we'll do is we will so this hashing has to be added two places, right? One is when you register. Okay, so
okay,
when you register, the password will be taken as string, whatever is put in into the input field, password field. But later on, when you here at line number 39, when you put it into the database, this will not be PWD, but it will be something like this
password, hash password. Yeah. Okay.
hash. Okay, so whatever method
Mhm.
like this. All right, so what will happen in the database? The password will be saved as hashed part of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and later on, when you verify it, so how will you verify? Like this. So you're not actually verifying or you're not actually equating with the actual password that is put into the field, but the hash of it. Because this user dot password will retrieve the hash, not the original password,
Okay.
right? Something like this.
Hash here is a function. Yeah.
Now I have created this hash, right? I can create my own hashing function, right? I can create a function here that hashes the password in a certain rule, which is very specific to my application, and then you can still use that, right? For example, I can simply add 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 this string in as the as the dummy prerequisite. What do we say? Prefix to my actual password. So if my password is 1234, it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 1234. This actually gets saved into the database. So you can have your own hashing techniques also, right? But don't get confused. I mean, don't do that.
Yeah.
But if you are using hash password, then this is the way, right? You verify it with the hash and you add the hash. Getting no?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
can you look at the chat box?
Yeah. 1 second. There was one thing that I wanted to delete. Where is it? Oh, already deleted. Okay. Chat box.
I have tried it like this
Generated.
for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
This has to be done in the models part, right? I mean, in the user
In
part.
yeah,
Model.
not the model in the controller user login and register controller, no?
Okay.
Because the checking of password, hashing of password is happening when you register and login, right?
Okay. So they have defined this in the models.py file, but that is
Uh,
also doing the work. I mean, it is trying to hash out
okay, fine. So here, all right. So you are defining it as a class property, right? So yeah,
class
it is
property. Yeah.
possible.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, so that it does there itself in the model.
Does that.
Yeah, it works
It
fine.
works. Okay.
This should work. I'm not sure about the syntax as of now because I'm not sure how the model is created. But if
Mm.
the syntax is fine, then this should work because there can be multiple additional methods also that you can add in the model. See, at the end of the day, model is just a class. So
Yeah.
whatever applies to class, whatever, the decorators, class methods, everything, right? Static, all those things apply to a class. That means they also apply to are this model class.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so you can try that. Okay, so I think at most places our our this thing is ready. Okay, so at this point we should be able to log in, and then based on the type of user, it should redirect to various either the user or admin dashboard. Okay, so what I'll do now is I will just open the database. Okay. Just to see if there is a user existing with uh, then we have Jan 24 add one. Here it is. Okay, the instance. All right, so if you browse the data, we have two users. Yes, so there is one, Yash is admin and others is general. Okay, so we should be able to verify what we are doing. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll run this application. So before running this application, let me open the another terminal. Okay, let us run it here.
The type you changed in the directly in the
Directly in the database, because we
database.
are not providing that interface for admin.
Okay. By default, it's taking general, but
General, always it will take general, but I'll have to then open the database and then change the type to admin. That I have to do manually, because see, there is no interface to register as admin, right? And we are not providing it anyway, right? So
yeah,
application should not provide direct registration, register as admin. So that is what we are trying to do.
it's a one-time process if admin has
Yes.
been decided then.
Right. Yeah. One
Yeah.
time process. Every time, I mean, see, what will be the general use of application? General registration and login is only happening for general user. So that is
Yeah.
the reason default I've kept general user rather than keeping admin, because
Okay.
default access will be general. You can later on, if I want to, let's say, make multiple admins, one or two admins, what I'll do is I'll simply change their type, user type to admin.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we will do. Okay. What is the ENB? Are we out? So this is, oh, okay. Fine. Oh, what is the name? It's logistics system mad one. Okay, 1 second. I'll just close this. And open it again. So this is where I should have opened my command prompt. Okay, environment activated. Okay, something. Oh yeah, view function mapping. What is happening here? So when I created the user and admin dashboard, there is something that I did. User login, right? So user login is a function here also and here also, which is not allowed. Okay, so I'll just change this, any one of it. Admin login.
Sure. Make one admin login.
Okay, let's leave it as user. Okay. Okay, so nothing is defined on the base URL. I think it's login. Oh, no. 1 second. What is there at base URL? It's nothing in base URL, right? So it's user login. So we can also create a landing page, which will work on, which will run on the landing page, and then there we can have, let's say, login, right? So login will actually take you to the user login and
So in Navbar, there must be just a login page,
yeah,
right? I mean, login.
yeah. works, right? So yeah, I mean that is something that we can do, landing page. All right, so as of now we are in the login form. Okay, so we will try to log in with the user first, or let's say admin, doesn't matter. So username is, let's say, yes. Okay, and password is 1234. So here we are not putting what is the type of user, right? But still it should be able to take the admin, right? So what is happening here? It retrieve the user. Okay, then retrieve the type of user. The user type was admin, and then we were able to log in an admin dashboard. Okay, let us try with the other thing. Logout is not working well. Okay, I think it is not changed here. We will change it here anyway. But
URL.
yeah, URL, that change has to be done. I'll go back again to user login. All right. So here we'll go to yes. No, this was the general user. We try to log in, right? So now you can see that general user is coming, and then you have this. All right, but you can see the transactions, right? All the transactions. This is because we did not make any change to the template as such, but what we did was will be evident here. So you see this empty list. Why are we getting empty list? Because the user others does not have any transaction, right? So for example, so if you see that there is only one transaction, okay, and the user ID of the transaction is one. So actually the admin is the one who created this admin is the one who created this transaction. Okay, so it is okay for now. What we can, I mean, we just wanted to test if everything is working fine, which is working fine, right? So what is happening here? We created a transaction, and when we created a transaction, there was only one user, that was admin. Okay, had the, I mean, if you go to the this thing, okay, had others been admin and yes being general user, we would be able to see the transaction, right? But that does not matter as of now because we will integrate it anyway. So, okay. All right. And we will also have to create an endpoint and a form which takes add transaction details, right? So we have that transaction template created, but we'll have to make an endpoint for that, which is what we are going to do today. But I just wanted to make sure that these two things are working. Okay. Now there is also one more thing to notice is when we go to user dashboard, do you see this /2? Where is this coming from? This is coming from user dot this user dot id, right? So we were actually able to successfully trigger the endpoint that we created, right? And that is happening from this line. So we triggered line number 50, and that is happening because of line number 23. All right. And /2 would refer to others, which is anyway happening, right? Okay, now based on this information, what we'll do is we'll try to change this transaction table. Okay, so this transaction table needs to change. Currently others does not have any transaction. This means what will it show? It should show that there are no transaction, and create button should anyway be there, right? So you should be able to create transaction. So we will change our template according to that. Okay, what we'll do, we'll go to my which template, user dashboard. This is where the transactions are coming into picture, right? Okay. Hmm. So this would remain anyway the same, but this is what we are going to change, right? So the table itself will change. Okay, so div trans table, I think this is what encompasses the entire table. Let me check. Yeah, right. The div encompasses the entire table. We would need the head row. Okay, and we, for the body row, we would need only one tr. Okay, because the hard coded information will now go, and information from the templates and the information from the database will now be retrieved and shown onto the template. So you'll have to change this static file into a template, right? So how do we do that? uh, I mean, every time when we go back to this thing, every time what will happen, the top, the heading part of the table will remain static. What will change is the number of rows here, and based on these things, right? So these details and everything will change. Okay. So this is what we have to make dynamic, right? So here, if I go back to my user dash table, the table will remain static. The T head will remain static. What will change is the T body. And specifically into that T body, what will change? TR, right? So every row would represent, I mean, every TR would represent one row, and this TR should appear with respect to how many entries or how many transactions that particular user has created, right? So this is where we'll have to use for loop in Jinja. Okay, so I will remove everything else because this is now hard coded, so I don't need this, right? I will only modify this TR.
Sir,
Okay,
only one tier needs to be modified.
yes, only one TR because otherwise we are using for loop, right? So it will keep on creating TR, number of transaction, number of TRs. Okay, now what I also want to do is you see that your transaction, right? And then this table div, the table should appear only when I have a transaction. Otherwise, it should not give me a table, right? There is no point of having an empty table. So what will happen? I'm not made changes yet in TR, right? I'll come to that. But before that, what I'll do is you will see your transactions, and just below your transaction, if there are no transactions made, it should tell you that there are no transaction create, right? Otherwise, it should give me the table of transaction. So here I'll use if. Okay, so first I'll show how to use if, right? So if is a conditional block, so that has to be used something like this. All right, and right if. Okay, for actually finding out whether the user has transaction or not, what can we use? We can use that transaction variable that we have passed on to this template, right? So if let me go back. So what we have done is, while rendering this template user dash, we have provided uname, and the other thing that we provided is this. So we can make a use of this table, sorry, this transaction list, right? So what I'll do, if transactions. Okay, so this is filter. I hope you know this. In Jinja, we have used filter. So what I've done, if it is an empty list, what will be the length? 0. So what I've done, if transaction colon, uh, pipe length equals to 0, then what it should show? It should show me, let's say something like this. You do not have any transaction, right? And okay, leave it the message out as it is. Okay, and if it is not 0, then I should be able to see this table. So what I'll do, I'll use else block here. Okay, else, and this else and if will end where? After this table. So this div, right? End if. So there is no end else. Else can be used internally to if, but we have to actually end the if block. So what will happen here? If there are no transactions, it will show me you do not have transaction. If there is any one transaction, it will show me the table with the transaction listed. So if I simply save this and reload reload this page, I should be able to see that table. Okay, if for some reason the server is broken, then we'll see that. Okay, something happened here. No, this is not right because this is coming from the static. Okay, anyways, we'll leave this. Let me just close the table. Okay, so application is running, and localhost. User login, right? So this is a general user. If I try to log in, yeah. So what does it say? What does it say? It logs me in, but then it says you do not have any transaction. It does not show me the table, right? I wanted that you do not have in a smaller format. So maybe this was also H2. Okay, so we can shift to H3. Okay, so you do not have any transaction, then you can create one. All right, but if for some reason, I mean, if there was any transaction, then it would not show you do not have any transaction. It would show me the table and everything. Okay. Okay, so now that I'll change. Okay, so for that, what I'll use is the for loop. We were in user dash, yes. So we don't need to change this because this is static part. What needs to change is this. So this is where, I mean, within the T body, there will be multiple TR, right? So whatever I want to use or print multiple time, that has to be put into the for loop. So this is where I'll start for the for loop, right? For trans in transaction. Okay, so transactions, because that was the list. Okay, and here I will use everything, right? So instead of using this one, I will simply write loop dot index. This I mean, this is something that Jinja provides. It will, type in the serial numbers one by one. This is package X. What do we need here? Package name. So I can write trans dot, I'm not sure about the attributes. So we have T underscore name. Okay, I hope you're getting this, right? So what I'm doing here, for every, so there is a transaction. What is transaction referring to? It is referring to a list of transaction objects, right? I will show you that before actually coming on to this page. I printed it here, right? So I will also show you how we are going to list this transaction. So if you see this transaction equals to user.trans, right? So this will actually save the list of transaction object. This means if I iterate through this particular transaction list, every iteration, I mean the element with every iteration would refer to an object. Which object? Transaction object. If it is a transaction object, then I can refer to any of its attribute. That is what I'm trying to do in the for loop, right? So for trans and transaction, meaning for one transaction object in all the transaction, I am typing in the transaction, the T underscore name of that transaction object, right? Similarly, I will put everything, right? So it is trans dot S underscore city, D underscore city, S underscore city, because that would be source, I guess. Then destination would be D underscore city. So I'll simply copy it and change this S to D. All right. Then again, if we go back to model, T underscore date. So what is that referring to? Date of request. Yeah. So T underscore date. Okay. Oh, sorry. All right. Then requested. What is this requested? Let's see. So that requested is actually the internal status. Okay. Internal status. So I'll write trans dot internal status. Okay. And then to be notified. What is to be notified? Delivery. So to be notified is nothing, right? So if I'll just show you the wireframe. From the wireframe, it will be clear. So there will be certain things shown based on a condition. So what is happening when, so this is updated, right? So what is actually the last thing showing? Let us see the table. So if you see the user dashboard, what is the last thing showing? The last column is actually the payment, right? When the status of package, when the status of package is requested, there is obviously no payment attached to it, right? There is no payment. So what we can do, we can write on a condition. So if the status is requested, then we can simply write in to be notified. If the status is anything else than the requested, then obviously there will be a payment added, right? So that payment we will update accordingly here, right? So I will write an if condition within the for loop for this. Okay. So this for the last TD, this to be notified should come only when the internal status is requested. So what will I do? I'll write if, I mean, using the Jinja for obviously, if same thing, because we are actually referring to this only, trans dot internal status equals to requested, If this is requested, then you put to be notified. Okay. Otherwise, if it is not requested, then what is the second stage? It was quoted, right? If it is quoted, I mean, I hope you are understanding this, right? So quoted meaning some amount was given, right? Some amount was set for that particular transaction. So in that case, this TD would be, I'll just write it here. If it is quoted, this TD would refer to the amount. Okay, so this model, let me go to this model. Sorry. Yeah, we have this amount, right? By default it is 1000, but that does not make sense, right? I just requested for a transaction, it is showing me 1000 amount, so that does not make any sense, right? So what we are trying to do here, if I just make a request, obviously there is no action done on that. If there is no action done on that, then there is no point of giving what will be the value, right, amount for that transaction. So it will say to be notified. Once the request has been taken care of, that is, it moves from requested to quoted, this means we are definitely added an amount to it. Okay, and the status, internal status, will be changing to quoted. Okay, so if the internal status changed to quoted, there is an amount associated with that, so that we can simply put here, right? So what I'll do, I'll simply write this. So instead of internal status, it will be amount. Okay, so it will be amount. And then once we are done with this, we will end our if first. Okay, so we end our if here, and then for should end after tr. Okay, this is how it is going to be. So now
So
what we have
what is
done
that?
is,
So what is that if at line 62? Like
if
end
at
if
line,
end if
yeah, so
line
this
62.
end if is coming from here, right? That transaction length is 0. We just now saw that, right? I mean, just now what did we see? If the transaction length is 0, in the actual user dashboard it shows this, you don't have any transaction. So what it is
Okay.
doing, it is hiding the entire table, right? And if the transaction length is not 0, then it is showing the entire table. So what you need to show will, to what extent you want to show, should come inside the if block. That is what I've done. So what is happening here, if you see, this condition is checking the length of transaction. Okay, that list. If this list is 0, that means there are no transactions. So it will say that it does not have any, I mean, you do not have any transaction. But if this length is not 0, so it will start from here. So what you have to do is you have to show the entire table. So this table starts here and ends here. That is the reason this end if comes after that div. Are you getting?
Okay, sir.
See, I mean, when you start if, you have to end if. Jinja doesn't know indentation. So these indentations are HTML indentation.
Sir, the way your VS Code is showing the code, right? So I was getting confused because I was saying that body is there, and then there is no code in between, and then we have an end if.
Okay, now do you see?
So is now I understand that that thing is getting overlapped. The above code
Yeah,
is
so maybe just
yeah.
let me correct the indentation. This should come with table. Yeah, so this table has this indentation. Okay, else here, end if here. So this div should end here. This is fine, right? Now the indentation is fine. Although it does not make sense, indentation does not play any role because we have to specifically mention what part comes under if block, what part comes under else block. So my else block starts here and my else block ends here. That is the reason I have to put end if here. Okay, so that is how it is. Currently, with the data that we have, we will never be able to add or show the transaction. Okay, so for that, what we have to do is we'll have to create a transaction. Okay, and transaction, we cannot create by interface because we do not have that interface as of now. All right, so what should we do? Shall we move on to creating that interface, or should I add a dummy thing in the database and show you? Okay, I'll just do a dummy thing. Okay, so what I'll do is I will go to my transaction table. Okay, and manually I'll add everything here. Okay, so let's say this is package 2. Okay, this is Also, we are not putting in the package type on the table, right? Does not matter anyways. So what is today's date? 1st March.
So
Hmm.
while you're typing, I have a quick question on the assignment. Can I ask now?
Assignment, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
The week five assignment,
Okay.
I've completed the code, but two of my test cases are failing. Specifically, one with personal details and one that's enrolling a student into the course.
Hmm.
Now I don't know why. I'm just guessing. Is it because the checkboxes that gets rendered, I've rendered it dynamically with using the value as the ID of the course in my database table, and then label should be the label that I'm getting from the database table.
Just check the value of your courses, that select element you have created, right? In the,
So
I mean,
functionally, it works fine on my system when I run it.
it will definitely not an issue. But the thing is, what happens is the if you look at the course, uh, I mean, when you create a student or when you assign the course, if you look at that part, that table values are actually not the actual course name. Have you added actual course name or what?
No, no. So what I've done is the value section in the value attribute, I've added the course ID and right
That's what, right? So if you look at the template, it says
course one,
that you
course
have
two,
to
course
put,
three, course four.
yeah, you change
So
that and it will work.
no, I changed it.
Hmm.
So the checkbox section itself is dynamically generated using Jinja. So I get the list of courses from my course table, and then I render it using Jinja, where the value attribute is actually the course ID, and the label attribute is actually the course name.
Yeah,
So
so that value attribute has to be course underscore one, course underscore
ah,
two,
okay. So I
and
can't
then you
cannot
have to
change
map
that.
it. Yeah.
No, no, I didn't get it. So can I change it or I can't change it?
No, no, no. You have to map it. Meaning, if I say course one, it should refer to MAD one, let's say, like that. So, for example, when you select a course,
Got it. So
the
I
value
cannot.
should go inside. I mean, in the value that is going to backend should be course underscore one. Okay. But then from that course underscore one, you need to have a mapping dictionary or whatever, which will map course underscore one to MAD one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
That is something most of the students are missing out, I'm sure.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so you try with that. If it does not work, then let me know. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so see what I've done here is I've added a manual transaction. Let me save this. Okay, so the transaction is done, and see what I've done is I've purposefully added user IDs too, making it to be a transaction of user Adarsh, because he's the not the he's a general user, right? So with that, what we'll do is I'll just reload it and see what happens. Okay, Jinja error trans.internal status. Am I missing something on the expected token got colon? What does that mean? Okay, I think probably that was because I cannot use double curly braces into the for loop. Okay, let me go back to my this template user dash. Okay, so what is happening here? This, right? So I'm using a Jinja within
Yeah,
my,
curly braces we cannot use.
yeah. So we cannot use within the if block. We cannot use this. So we'll have to find out a different way of doing this. But for now, what I'll do is I'll remove this. And I'll add it as it is. Just to be notified, I'll just keep it. And we'll have to delete this then. Okay, that entire thing is not required. We'll have to find another way of doing that. Okay, reload this. Yeah. So now what do we see? We see that we are logged in as Adarsh, and we see that package to destination source and destination added, date of request 1st March, status requested, right, and payment to be notified. And very similarly, that we'll see here also. So do you see transaction to object? So this is what is getting saved in that transactions variable that we created, where this. Okay, so user.trans is actually saving transactions object. Okay, and since there is only one, that is what is happening, right? And same thing is getting passed on. So what is actually getting passed on to Jinja? List of objects. Okay, and what, since it is list of object, we have iterated over it. All right, so every trans, this trans would refer to, I will just, let me just write it here. This trans is actually, this is this thing, transaction to object, what you see here, right? Transaction to, capital T. And since it is an object, I can refer to its attribute by using dot. That's what I did, and that is getting printed, right? Is this clear? So what we have done now, we have taken care of all the transaction, right? So if there are multiple transactions, this Jinja will take care of it. This is the difference between a static template and a Jinja template. Okay, a static HTML file and a Jinja template. Most of the part of this file is static, whereas this part is dynamic, which takes care of the data coming from the database. All right, so this is a Jinja template.
So this is for transactions, and if we consider it as a library, if the user tries to request for multiple books, then that has to be done similar in this fashion, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if a user is trying to request for multiple books, and the
request
Jinja,
for,
I mean, request, I mean, is trying to issue multiple books
Mhm,
simultaneously, then that
mhm.
needs to be done in this way, in the Jinja template, where all the book fields are getting
Yeah.
stored. I
So
mean, like in
I mean,
that
you will see the list of books. So that list of books is dynamic, right? It is coming from the database. So whatever is coming from the database has to be dealt with like this.
dealt with like this. And if we want to show the all list of books, then in the library, suppose there are multiple books
Doesn't
in the
matter. No,
library,
see, it
we
depends
use
on
the
what is
dashboard.
there in transactions. The structure of HTML will remain same. If the transaction, in our case, it had one object, right? If you try to get every, for example, if you're trying to get all the books from the database, what will you do? You will write all books and you will write books.query.all,
Okay.
right? So that books variable that you created, I mean, let me
Mhm.
just show you here.
If you
In,
could. Suppose in my user dashboard, I have in the navbar, I have books, which shows me all the books in the
yeah. So if
library.
you,
So
yeah, so you want to show all the books, you have to just create a variable like this, random, and then you'll have to query the books table, right? So it will be
books
book dot query, and since all the books, this means dot all.
dot
So
all
this book, all books will have a list of all the books object, and then you will iterate through it using the template,
using the template, like the
right?
request part. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so this print also I'll remove because I wanted to show what actually exactly comes into print. So I'll remove this, and this is what is our user dashboard. So what is happening here? Two things. One is the user endpoint is getting triggered with user specific ID, and then it is, with the help of that ID, it is retrieving the user. It is retrieving all the transaction based on that user, and then passing it on the onto the template. And what is template doing? Based on the transaction, it is looping through all the transaction objects and printing in whatever we are typing here, right? So that is what is happening. So this to be notified can be changed to the amount also, right? So I could have written trans dot amount and it would have shown 1,000 there. Okay. Okay, so this is how user dashboard is to be created and admin dashboard is created. Okay, so I've created two controllers. Now we will go on to the CRUD of transaction. Okay, so till this point, is everything clear?
So I have a doubt. When we are accessing the transactions using user.trans,
Hmm.
so we are calling the user class, right? Or
No,
we are using the user that the we
no, we are not calling user class. User class is being called here. We
okay,
are, this user dot trans meaning user object. So
okay,
you see this user, right?
yeah,
So there is a difference between small u and capital U, right?
yeah, Okay.
So when I have written transaction, I have written small u. So this object dot transactions.
Okay.
Hmm?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll move ahead to the CRUD of it. Okay. So what we'll do now, we'll go to the running application only. And in running application, I see that there is one thing. Okay. So same thing has to be changed. Same thing has to be shown on the admin dashboard also, right? So if I, let's say, log out, let's see if logout works. Not sure. Okay.
So is the
Restart.
URL attached to the button?
No, I don't think so.
We'll have to check that.
Because yeah, otherwise it won't work.
Okay. Anyways, I will go back and check that. So where is our logout button? This thing. Yeah, this is actually mapped. We are going to user login endpoint. Right. So user login endpoint actually it is not logging us out, but it is directly taking us to login page. So, and there is no session maintained, so that is anyway logging out only.
Okay.
Okay. So why is this not working today? Anyways, I'll just close it. Yeah. So the changes are not getting reflected as such. I'm not sure why. I had to save it, right? Everything is saved. Okay. So now
Debug
it is
has
working.
so debug mode has to be on, right? In order
Debug
to
mode is not on.
no, just I'm asking. It has to be on, right?
Yeah. So to see the
Changes.
for the for the server to restart after every change, debug mode has to be on. It is on in my case because it is restarting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So now we are in the login form page. Now the thing is, let's say let us try to log in with admin. Okay. So when I try to log in with admin, okay, again it is taking time.
Network connection.
No, not an issue. Yeah, right. So that is when it is trying to log as admin, what it should show, the requested transaction should show that transaction, right? Now it is hard coded. As of now, these things are hard coded, but the requested transaction should show this, and there should be nothing in pending transaction and paid transaction, right? Because the current status of those both the transactions that are there is requested. All right. So what I'll do is I'll have to modify this also, right? So we'll do that very quickly, and then we'll come back to CRUD. All right. So that changes has to be done in admin dash, and
So
we
just
can.
so one question, like if a transaction is like requested, and then the admin, when we make everything functional, they change it to they change the state of that transaction. How does it like how do the other list which are having those like paid or completed transactions, how do those get updated? We have to like reload, or should they get updated automatically, or will they get updated automatically if they are being rendered using a loop?
No, so the thing is that is automatically going to happen in this case. Why? Because see, when I click on review, as I said, it will be another endpoint, right? So this what is this review doing? This review will open another page for me where I put in the the amount and everything, right?
It's automatically it is going to happen
Hmm.
because we are going to reload the page anyway
Reload the
because it's a
page.
new endpoint itself.
Yeah. Right. So that is going to happen. And even if you see this button, I mean, these buttons are going to cancel, right? So what is happening? These are actual endpoints. I mean, when we are going to create this, these will be the endpoints. So they will, so this will actually retrieve this particular transaction, delete it, and then re-render admin page. So you won't see the entire page. I mean, you don't need to manually reload the page. The page will be reloaded or re-rendered by this endpoint itself. You getting, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So
I
if
mean,
we
we'll see when we make those changes. Will that will be clear?
so if you try to relate it with our admin dashboard of librarian, this requested transaction will be converted to requested books. I mean, right? The
Yes.
books
Yeah,
and this
requested. Then you review
uh,
them. Then you issue. So the issue should go into issued books, things like that.
issued books. Yeah,
Hmm.
three tables,
Right.
right? Requested.
Not necessary that there has to be three tables only, but
Okay.
depending on how many models and what data you have to, I mean, what are the stages where these books move from, right? Those many tables have to be created. I mean, those many these static tables have to be created.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So now I'll come back to this the admin dashboard part. So in the admin dashboard part, we are, so this is requested transaction, right? Now, where are these transactions coming from? The transaction table, right? So in the admin dashboard, we will have to retrieve all the transaction, right? Let me go to my controller. So in the user specific dashboard, we retrieve transaction, but the way of transaction was different because we wanted to retrieve only user specific transactions, right? But in the admin, that is not the case. We are not retrieving transactions specific to a user. We are retrieving all the transaction. So what we'll do is we will just do this, right? Transactions, but what this will have is transaction dot query dot all, right? Because we are retrieving all the transaction, doesn't matter who it belongs to. All right, and same thing, we'll pass on this.
Same. The transaction done by all users, right? List.
Yes, transaction made by all the users.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's how we have transaction table in my admin dashboard table, right? So now the admin dashboard is there. Okay, requested transaction. Okay, now when will this table appear? This particular table, when will this appear? Obviously, we don't need multiple TR, so I'll anyway delete this TR, right? Because we will need only one TR to dynamically add the content. So that is okay. But what do we need? We need this table only when there are requested transaction, right? Only, I mean, the tables or the transaction should come here only when the I mean, the transactions are requested or the type is requested. All right. So maybe, I mean, a better way of doing that is instead of adding a lot of logic here, what we'll do is we'll add logic in controller. And now what is this logic? What I'm trying to say is, for example, we have transaction. Okay, so transactions, that list of transaction, all the transaction is passed on to my admin underscore dash html. That is okay, but then how do I segregate those transaction based on the internal status? For that, I'll have to write lot of for if condition, right? If anyway I'm writing all the for and if condition in the HTML, let us rather do it in controllers, right? Instead of doing it in admin dashboard or in the HTML file. Instead of using a lot of Jinja, we will do all the manipulation in the controller itself. Okay. So what I'll do, instead of this transaction.query.all, I'll use three filters, right? So here, instead of writing transaction, I'll write requested transactions. Requested, right? Requested transactions, and I'll just two verbos, so I'll remove this. Okay, and then there are there is one thing that is requested, the other thing is quoted. Okay, and the last one is paid. So while all of these are transactions only, but we are querying them separately. Okay, and now instead of, yeah,
So for books, sir, we can have requested books, issued books, and
right,
rejected books,
like
something
that,
like
like that. See, because anyway you are doing I mean, if you do it one if you do one statement here, you'll have to write multiple statements in your HTML, which is what
that.
I'm trying to avoid, right?
Okay.
So we
Okay.
don't want a lot of code programmatic part to be added to HTML, rather to add it in the controller, because
Admin.
controllers are made for that, right? So I'll use three different filter bys, right? So filter by internal status. Internal status equals to requested and dot all, not first, right? We need all those who have internal status requested. Similarly, I'll write for quoted and paid. So here this requested will change to quoted, this is changed to paid. All right, and now I will pass on these variables one by one, right? So this will be, I'll write it one below the other so that it becomes good for good in readable. Okay, so now we have three different list already filtered list, so we don't have to do a lot of manipulations in the admin dash. Okay, so I'll just save this and I'll use these in looping the other part. So here what I'll do here in this this table, so this is the first table, I can directly write everything, right? I can directly write. So requested transaction will use that if block very quickly, right? If requested, if requested underscore trans requested underscore, is it? Yeah, underscore. So if requested underscore trans dot length equals to 0, if this is the case, then
So why are we putting length here? Uh,
meaning,
I mean the parameter length equal to 0. I mean we are
because
trying to get all the transactions, right? I mean requested ones.
yeah, so all the requested ones. So I mean, see, for example, I'm in admin dashboard and I reviewed all of them and there is no request made, then obviously there is a chance that requested transactions are not there.
So you mean to say if no one has made a transaction
Yes,
requested,
yes, if
then
all the requests,
that
I mean if all the requests made are processed and then there is no new transaction, so it should show right that there are no new transaction.
okay, okay.
Hmm? Yeah, so if this is the length, then we will write in h4 no requested. So this is I mean we will be writing a lot of similar code for other two also. No requested transaction. Okay, all right, this is going to happen, else you show the table. All right, and where is the table starting and where is it ending? Here. So this end if will come till this point. Okay, now we will use the Jinja and do the other thing. So there is this trans table head we have to anyway show. Sorry. Okay, so this table head we have to anyway show. What changes is t body, right? So we'll use the for loop here. Okay, for trans in requested underscore trans. All right, and here we'll show, and I'll write loop dot index. Okay, loop dot index, package name would be trans dot all those things, right? So we know that it is our transaction, so it will be trans dot t underscore name is trans dot s underscore city, d underscore city, and trans dot t underscore date. All right, and then this button will be anyway review, so we'll leave it as is. And once this is done, we are done with tr, so we will end for. Okay, now this remains pretty much same for the other tables also, but it will depend on what is the heading, right? So I'll just copy everything and I'll change according to what is the heading. Okay, so it starts from okay h2 and it should end in end if. Okay, so I'll just copy this much parts and I'll paste it entirely completely here till this point. Okay, all right, so it requested transaction start here, no requested transaction, they end here. Then we have payment pending transaction. Okay, so here this will be quoted transaction, right? Quoted underscore trans length 0, no quoted transaction. All right, then in the id trans table, that is fine. Class head, okay, and then from the trans in quoted trans. Okay, so the button review was cancel, right? And how did it look? It looked like a red one, right? So it will be danger. All right, then we have pay transaction. So again, what I'll do is same thing. Just below this, I will paste everything. Should go till, I think, this point. Let me just check so that we don't miss out on any unclosed tag. So I'll paste. All right, so we have trans table, that is okay. Then we have, instead of no pay transaction. All right, no paid transaction, and obviously we also have to change this paid transaction. If paid transaction dot length, did I change that there? Yes. No paid transaction, else this paid transaction.
So this we are doing for all the three type of
All
transactions.
the three table, yeah,
Three
and they are
tables.
obviously dynamic, right? So for example, one record cannot exist two places, right? It will have either one of the status, either it is requested or quoted or paid. So if
Hmm.
let's say if I process a requested transaction, it should then disappear from that table and then come to other table. That also we have to take care, right? So I mean, this is just to show you that all the three tables are dynamic, and
Hmm.
the records will keep on records within that table, or the number of records within that table will keep on changing, right? So
Initially it is
that is what
empty.
we are trying to do.
Initially it is
Yeah,
empty. So
initially
you have to,
others will be empty. Yes, first we'll have requested transaction and others will be empty. Okay, how they will move from one table to another table, we have to write the code for that.
logic.
Okay,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, that, I mean, we will be writing the endpoint for that, right? So that is going to happen with the review button. So we'll need to write the endpoint for review, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have this class table action. So before I add anything, I just wanted to make sure that these things are fine, right? Okay, and it was info and update status. So the final thing, this warning will change into info, and this review will change into update status. All right. So trans and pay transaction loop dot index. I think this is fine. So if I save this, let us see what do we see. Yeah. All right, so what is happening, we obviously have two transactions made, which has a default status of requested. So in the in the payments pending transaction, we will see no quoted transaction, and in the pay transaction we'll see no pay transaction, obviously, right? Now if I want to bring one of these record into this, what will I do? I'll just change the status and you'll see that this will get removed from here and will appear here. So for that, I'll just play around with the database. So I'll just change this quoted, right?
So this you are doing it now. You are manually using database.
Yeah, currently I'm doing it manually, but later on we will do it with the help of
You can do
endpoints,
it. Hmm.
right? So what happened? So this got removed from here, came here, and also you can see the button and everything changed. So it depends on the nature of what table it is.
Okay.
Okay, the moment I remove this quoted, or if I remove this requested to, let's say, paid, and then save it, I should see nothing above, but then it comes into paid. So update
Hmm.
status, right? So this dynamicity will be currently it is manual because we are changing the database, and we do not have anything to create the transaction, and all these buttons are not working as of now. But when we add the endpoints for this, these will happen. I mean, from the interface itself.
Hmm. So this will be same for the books type. I mean,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
say
yeah. Yeah, just get the idea, try to relate it with
Yeah.
how I can change, how what things will change, and then you should be able to do.
Okay.
That is the reason I've taken this question statement is pretty
Yeah.
parallel to, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so with this done, okay, uh, I wanted to see if, I mean, what is happening on the other side. Okay, so let me just log out. Okay, so this admin dashboard it's not working,
Logout
right?
is not working. Yeah.
Admin dashboard logout. So this will be, I will just directly change it to user login.
Yeah.
Okay, so not work. Reload it, logout. Yeah. Okay, so now if I go back to, so this is username, right? Let me, this is user. Okay, so let me just log in and see. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see the status is changed to quoted, right? So once this is quoted, the payment should be whatever I put in. So that will be changing by the endpoint. Okay, as of now, we don't have anything to, we don't have a way to change that. But when we actually, make a sense of those buttons that we have on admin dashboard, then all these things will change according to the changes we're making, right? So currently, if the status is quoted, I should be able to see an amount here, right? This will come when we actually make changes in the when we make controllers for this. Okay, till this point, any doubt?
So, sir, in books library, we won't have the payment status, right? Because we have to just issue the books and get it. Issue
uh
the books to the students and
yeah, there won't be any
payment
payment thing. Yeah,
thing related to.
yeah.
But in
So
the
see,
yeah,
yeah, so I mean, the columns that we are making here are relevant to what we are trying to do, right?
yeah, yeah.
And also are related to the attributes that we have in the table.
Hmm.
Right. So in the user table, sorry, in the books table, you may have the author of book, the issuer, and volume and section and all those things. So your table will accordingly change, right?
Hmm.
So the table what you're showing here will largely depend on the model and its attributes.
Model. Okay.
Okay. So let us log this out, and now what we'll do is now we'll try to do a CRUD. Okay. So CRUD of creating a transaction. So every time what we were doing is we were manually doing it, right? So we should be able to create a transaction as of now. Okay, we are able to read it because I mean from the CRUD of transactions, read is already done, right? Because we are able to read the transactions in user dashboard and admin dashboard. So read part is done. Now let us focus on the create part. So how do we do the create part? We will uh, open this page, right? So see, the advantage of having all the, I mean all the files, I mean all the templates created is that you have, when you want to write the code for it, you have the template ready, so you don't have to worry about creating the template from the scratch. Okay, so that is this is what we are having with the create. So what I'll do is first I'll open it manually, that is with the live server, just to see the thing. Okay, yeah, obviously this will not show the proper design because it is not coming from the Flask, so it does not know what the static folder is. It does not know what static folder is. It is not able to retrieve the CSS for it, right? So that is the reason it is not coming in a proper box and everything. All right, but I think it is it available from here? Let me see. Okay, so this button does not work here, right? So this button will start working when we do this. So what do we have? We have transaction name, type, source, destination, and description. Okay, so there is one thing that is missing on these form elements that we have created is the name attribute, right? Because name attribute is the one that takes the data to the backend. Okay, what name attribute does, it takes the data, it acts as a key for the value that we put in the form, right? So this was, I mean, discussed in one of the previous session. You can take a reference to that. All right, but now I will clean some of the data from here and add things accordingly. So first thing is I will just remove this for, because there is a lot of text part here. Okay, so I'll just write t underscore name. t underscore name, id also t underscore name. Okay, and name, id, and for, I mean, so if whatever is put into id has to be put into for, but there is no restriction that you have to have different values of id and name, right? So the name and id can have exactly same values. Okay, so this, what did I write? T name, why? Yeah, T name, right? This is T name. So this is also T name. Okay. So what is this T name doing? It is actually, this is actually useful for selecting this input element. And what is this T name doing? It is storing the value, whatever you put into this input field, right? So both the T name have different roles. Okay. Let me change the others also, right? Example data list. So example data list. No, we want type, right? So it is transaction type actually. Oh, directly I've written it. Name. Name is t underscore type. Okay, so everything else remains same. Here, source, right? So I'll leave these things as it is, but in the name, I'll write. Okay, do we have anything else? No, right? S underscore city. I'm taking the same name that we have taken in the model. That is the reason I've written S underscore city. Okay, similar to that, we will have this D underscore city. Okay, form text area 1. I think this is directly written as description. I'm not sure. Let me just check the model. Yes. Oh, it is a decryption. Okay, but we'll still do the description. Okay, description ID and name also we will put description. Not an issue. Okay, description, then create button. So so this button is actually the one that is doing the part of submit. All right, so it is a type submit, but this is not how it is created. So we'll refer to the admin dash, we'll refer to login.html, and how we have used that submit. Okay, so this is actually input, and then we provide a class. So I'll just copy this and add it here. Let me see what is changing. Set button primary, and then it also has mb3, so I'll add that as well. Okay, value login, that is okay. Class submit, that is okay. This is fine. Okay, so instead of that button, now we have that input, which is actually submitting the form. Now where does it submit? That is a question, right? So for this we'll have to create, right? We'll have to create a controller, one that gives us the form and the other that takes the form data back to the server. All right, and for that, and also the form that we have created, it starts here. This form that we have created, that has to have a action attribute and the method. So this action should go to create, or maybe like this, transaction underscore create. Okay, so this is the endpoint that I'm going to make. This is not does not yet exist. And then what is the method? Method is post. All right, so what will happen when we click or when we submit the form? All the data that has been put here goes to the server. Okay, so transaction create is the one that we are going to do now. All right, and this button to work, for this button to work, what do we have to do? We'll have to go to user dashboard, and the create button that we have created, right? This create button, this should take us to a place. right? This should take us to that endpoint. So for this, what we'll use probably there were other buttons that we could use. uh, I don't want to use link, I want to use button only. So maybe we can use an anchor tag between the button. All right, so maybe just let me use an anchor tag, href slash transactions underscore create, right? Transaction underscore create, and this create plus should be the content of my anchor tag. All right, so let us check if this works. User dashboard, let me reload this. Okay, doesn't show anything. Oh, it shows, but it is acting as a link.
Sir, what you can do is you can put the button inside the anchor tag.
Okay, fine, that is one other combination we can do.
That will work.
That will work. Okay, fine. So currently my
Yeah.
okay, so my content of the button is acting as a link, right? I want the entire button to act as a link. Okay, so what we
Exactly.
can do is we will remove this from here, and in the content we'll add this here like this. All right, and since VS Code has already added that slash button, we will remove this. Okay, and the create should be a part of button now. Okay, okay, let's check this. All right, so this works. Okay, so if I click on create, it is showing transaction created, obviously not found. Why? Because we have not created this. We wanted to check if this works, right? So clicking on that create button should actually take me to this endpoint, right? Now this is where I will define this endpoint. Okay, so now I'll go back to my where do I go back? I go back to my code, and I'll go to controllers.py, and from here onwards I'll start defining my create underscore transaction or transaction underscore create. Let me just confirm that once. So transaction underscores create.
So read we have done, right, in the user dashboard.
Yeah, read is already there, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So app.route slash create. I forgot again. Transaction create. Transaction underscore create. And since okay, this involves form and rendering the form and taking the data, so we'll need both, right? So we'll need both the methods. So I'll just add here. Okay, now we'll have to define individually what will happen with get, what will happen with post. Okay, so I'll let us do for the post first. So the request dot method is post. We are taking in multiple things, right? So what are we taking from the table, from the create form? Transaction name, type, source, destination, and description. That's all. So we know that these are the things coming from the form, and and how are we adding other things? The status and things, those are by default. So we don't have to worry about those things, right? So I'll be first taking t underscore name. T underscore name will be request dot form dot get t underscore name. So we need t underscore name, we need t underscore time date, sorry, what do we need? Type. Okay, then source destination, uh source city, destination city, and description. These are the 5 things we are going to take. There's a reason I've copied it 5 times. Yeah, tell me, somebody raise hand.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hmm.
So, sir, here we are creating the transaction. So the user will give the name, transaction name, type, and everything in the form.
Hmm.
But
Right.
in the library type of app, we will request for the book. So the book content will already shown to us in the dashboard, user dashboard. Like
Yeah,
these are the
so
books
see that there is a
available.
difference. Yeah, yeah, right. I get it.
Yeah.
There is a difference, right?
So
So if I, yeah, so uh, I mean, in this application, admin does not do the CRUD. User does the CRUD. Okay.
okay.
In library management, user does the CRUD. Sorry, user
We will just
just
request
uses
for
the resources, and CRUD is done by admin or librarian,
CRUD. Okay. So
right? So creation of book, creation of section, all
books
these things are
done by
anyway
the
you need to do, but from the admin side.
admin side. Okay. So how can we decide this is done by the user or the admin? I
Does
mean,
not matter. See, this is an independent endpoint. It will be done by whom wherever that button is, create button, right? So
uh,
currently it says
okay.
login for some reason. Why? See, my create button is appearing or create transaction button is appearing in my
Mhm.
user dashboard page, right? So this
Mhm.
means user is able to create. If
User
this button exists in the admin dashboard, then admin will be able to
admin
create,
will be able to create. Okay. So all the
right? So it
transactions,
depends,
I mean,
right? It
all the
depends
books.
where the button is.
Okay. Okay. But the process will be same, right?
Exactly
Either
same.
is done
Yes.
for user or admin. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. For some reason it is showing login. Why is it showing login? Create button. Oh, in the transaction page it is showing login.
Transaction. Yeah.
So this is why.
Great.
Okay. So that's all. Now here we will make the changes, right? So it is t underscore name, t underscore type. Then we have s underscore city, d underscore city, and description. Description. Okay. And then we'll accordingly change these also. So it will be t underscore type, s underscore city. So it's not that these will match with this. I've just created a variable so that they match the name attribute. So what should come here should match with the name attributes that are using in the form, right? So if you see the create transaction form, I'm only referring to the name attributes. Okay. So those
Okay.
things has to have to be there. D underscore city, and here it is description. Okay, so once this is done, we have all the data ready. Now we are ready to create the transaction object. Okay, so I'll write new underscore, my w is a bit not working, new underscore trans equals to transaction object, right? Transaction object. So what don't we need to provide, right? We don't need id, we need name. So oh, sorry, we don't need the transaction id to be put in, we just need the name. So it will be t underscore name equals to t underscore name. Okay, so this is actually coming from the model, this is coming from the value, okay, from the form.
Left hand
Similarly
side
what we'll
is
do,
from the form, right?
which
Left
one?
hand side variable t underscore name.
Hmm.
This is from the form or
No,
the
the left one is from the model, right? So you're
model.
assigning a value to where are you saving? You're creating a record in the model, so you
Okay.
have to assign in the model variable. So this will refer to model variable, this will refer to your form
Form
variable.
variable. Okay.
T underscore type equals to t underscore type. Okay, then what do we have? S underscore city equals to s underscore city. D underscore city equals to d underscore city. Okay, now there is one thing we are missing. Okay, uh, if I go to my user model, sorry, if I go to my transaction model, you see that there is user id also attached, right?
Hmm.
So how is this happening? This user id, this user id will be put based on who is logged in, right?
Yeah.
So here we'll also have to retrieve that user who is logged in, right? And that user, I mean that ID. For example, if I let's say write user equals to user dot query dot get. What will I put here in the ID? I mean in the get method, I will put the ID. Where is this ID coming from?
ID is coming from the transaction he is making. I mean,
Yeah, but see,
right?
the thing is, I'm triggering this transaction underscore create.
Mm,
Okay, so
mm.
it will depend on who is triggering this, right? So who is
The
clicking the button? Who
user
will click the button? Who is logged in,
who is logged in. Yeah.
right? So what we have to do is, for example, we are here. So this create button should actually retrieve the user ID itself. Okay, and user ID will be retrieved when the user is logged in. So what we have to do is, for example, uh, I am in my, let me go to my user dashboard. So user dashboard, I am in my user dashboard. So this create button should also store the user ID.
Okay.
Okay, so the endpoint that we are making, let me go to my create transaction, this thing. The endpoint that I'm making should not only, have this static endpoint, but it will also have a dynamic content which will store the user ID. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so what we'll have to do is, first I'll have to go to my user dashboard. Okay, this is the place where my user is there, my user exists. Why? Because if I go to my controller and I go to my user dashboard, where are we? Here, right? This is the place where we are here, right? So here I am passing in my user dot username, right? I want user ID also to be used within this user underscore dash. So what I'll do, I mean, just follow along. What I'm trying to do here is, instead of u underscore name, what I'm doing is I'm passing the entire user object. Okay, what will this? How will this help me? I can use not only the username attribute but all other attributes of the user within the HTML user dash. Okay.
So this left-hand side user is the object user which you have
No,
created.
left hand side is just a variable, but what I'm assigning is the user object. This means this will also now act as an object.
So this is coming from line 57, the right-hand
Yes,
side
yes, right.
user.
So
Okay.
this is a variable that I'm going to use in the template, and this is the assignment that I've done using line 57. So
Mm.
initially I was just passing the user name. Now what I'm passing the entire user object, okay, to the
Okay.
HTML. How will that help me? Just see. Okay, we'll see that. So once I am done with this, I've passed in my user object. I'll go to my user dashboard. Okay, and there was a place where I was actually printing my name here. So instead of doing this, what will I do? I'll print user dot username. Okay, this is clear. So what uname directly had initially was username, but now what we are saving, now what we are passing, we are just passing the entire object. So in order to paste or print the username, I'll have to refer to that attribute of that object, right? So I have written user dot username. Okay, that is not what, that was not the actual purpose of passing on the object. The actual purpose is this create button. So here what I'll do, here I'll make a dynamic link. Okay, here I'll make a dynamic link, and here what will I do? I'll write user dot ID.
So
Okay,
this will try to create the transaction with the
yeah. So
ID.
what will happen now when this page is rendered? Let us save this and see. Okay, let me also save the controller part. I think it will throw error for this. So let me just comment this. Let me just comment this entire controller because it will throw error for this.
Why,
Okay,
sir? Through error.
that endpoint does not return anything, right?
Okay. Okay. Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. So as of now it does not, but we'll make change. Okay, so that's why I commented that. Now, when I go to my, okay, so now we are in the user 2. Now you see when I click on, when I just hover on this create button, what do you see on the bottom?
To the
Localhost
localhost
transaction
transaction
underscore create
underscore create.
slash 2. This is important, right? So what does this mean? Now you're trying to create transaction, but for whom? For second user. Okay.
Mhm.
So in the transaction create, I mean, anywhere on the transaction page, you will not say that I'm going to create transaction for this and this user. Since others is logged in, the transaction should be created for others, and the application internally should take care of that. The front end will not show anything on that, right? So with this arrangement of endpoint, what we have done with this thing in the user dash, we have made sure that whoever is logged in, the user ID of that person will pass on to this endpoint.
Okay. But
All
sir, if
right.
we are the admin and we are trying to create the CRUD operation
Admin
on,
does not have create a button, no?
uh,
Okay, in this
no, in
application.
the, I mean, I was talking about the
Yeah, so
library one
admin is also user. So you will have user ID for the admin.
for the admin also.
See, I mean,
So,
in your case, what you will do is you will do
if
this
it
set of endpoint for admin, not for user.
for the admin, okay.
I mean, it's not that you will not need this for your user. I mean, on the user side also, you can do a lot of other things that require user ID. For example, if I issue a book, how will a application know that I am the one who's issuing? So you
So,
will have to create this type of endpoint for the user also and from the admin side also, because CRUD is on the admin side, issuing and everything is on the user side.
okay.
Okay, so you have to use this kind of I mean, you will have to pass in the user ID or some identifier of the user in the endpoint itself.
So
Okay, so that's
this
what we have tried to do.
this endpoint will be for both admin and user. I mean, you meant to say.
Yeah, I mean, you can have one endpoint also. One endpoint should be able to do, because if you're now retrieving the user ID, you don't have to explicitly worry about whether the type is admin or not.
Okay. Mhm.
Hmm. Okay, so here what I've done, user dot name, and here what I've passed in, user dot ID. Okay, I'm not sure if ID is only the variable. Yes, ID. Okay, same will be the question when I submit the form. Okay, so when I submit the form, where it should go, what should be the endpoint? It should go to slash transaction underscore create slash two, right? So here also, this thing here also I'll have to make the change. Okay, is this clear to you?
So when you are trying to submit the create transaction, I mean, the it's going to the endpoint, right? To
Yeah. See, because obviously when you create, I mean, the get endpoint, see what you are doing in the controller. In the controller, the get endpoint,
Mhm.
whatever endpoint you are creating for get, the same endpoint has to be created for post, right? So in the transaction, in the create transaction.html, this is the one that will be used for post. And this should be exactly same as the one that is getting used for get. So that's how I will have to also pass this here. Okay, now the problem with this particular endpoint is this page create underscore html does not have user, right? It does not have user passed in. So how do we pass in the user for this? Okay, did you get the question? For example, I mean, see, I've used user.id, right? So where is this user coming from? Right, so you have to make sure that the user is passed on to this create underscore transaction dot html also, right? So that is what we are going to do now. Okay, so I'll just now uncomment everything. Okay, and I will change the nature of this hey, what happened? Did I open? Yeah, I opened something. Yeah, so what will be the nature of this endpoint now? It will be something like this: int colon user underscore id. Okay,
so sir, I had a doubt.
so this user, hmm,
Sorry. So sir, if
yeah.
the admin is trying to create a transaction, I mean, if the admin, if I consider it for the library, if the admin is trying to create the section or the book, so is it necessary to mention his ID because anyways he will be the sole, he has the authority to do that. So why to mention the
No, no, you don't have
ID
to.
for
That's what.
user?
See, I mean, see, you can, yeah,
Mm,
you don't need to exactly relate it this and that app.
yeah.
You have to see the requirement. Now
Mm,
that you have mentioned that admin is anyway, if there are one or multiple admin,
mm,
the role is to create a section or to create a book. So you don't
book.
need who has created.
Who
So
has?
this is where you, yeah. So from this understanding, you deduce that whether I need to pass user ID for admin or not in the
Oh,
controller,
okay.
right?
B-
I I mean, this question statement, what we are trying to do, will take care of most of the things. I mean, this will only give you how, if you want to have an variable part of the endpoint, how to do it. If you don't want a variable part of the endpoint, how to do it, right?
Mm.
So this, I mean, you cannot directly relate it with your actual question statement, but if you want to, then you will have to see, okay, in library management, I want to create an endpoint that is completely static endpoint, does not have anything dynamic part, so I will
Mm.
refer to this kind of endpoint, right?
Okay.
Like that. So that,
But
like that, you'll have to relate.
but from the user point of view, if he's trying to he's going to request for a book, so in that case, it will be
Yes.
dynamic.
Yeah, in
His
that case it
ID.
will be dynamic. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Hmm. All right, so now what I've done is, when I go to this endpoint, the create transaction page has to be passed, right? I mean, this user ID or this user object has to be passed. So what I've done, I have on the top level, I mean, not in the if, not in the post part, in the top level part, once in the, just when the function is opened or the definition we are going to write, I have retrieved user object. All right. And how do I retrieve it? From this user underscore ID. Okay. Now I have user object everywhere. All right. So when I do a return render template, what is the name? Create underscore transact.html. Create underscore transact.html. This is where I'll pass my user. Right now, once I pass my user to create underscore transact.html, it this line user.id becomes valid. Okay, and then it will pre-fill. I mean, it will populate this part.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, so directly I've used it. Now here, I mean, the question of, I mean, the entire question of having a user ID came from this, right? So when I create a new transaction, I will also have to pass in the user, whoever the user is, right? So this is where we are coming. Okay, so the last thing that we had to provide is description. So just, I mean, there is one thing to note in my application. By mistake, while creating the model, I have created decryption as the attribute. So I cannot change it to description, right? I will have to keep it description. If I do that, I'll have to recreate the database. So you see there is a difference between the decryption and description. This description is the one that is coming from form, and this decryption is the actual attribute that is in the model.
So are you
Okay.
trying to create the okay, now you're doing the passing the sorry,
Yeah.
description, yeah.
Description is done. Now, what is the final thing that we have to provide? User ID. Okay, because this will make sure that the transaction is created for a particular user, right? And this is where this user ID will come into picture, right? So user underscore ID equals to user dot ID. Okay, we have to pass an integer, we are passing integer. Okay, so in, if you see the models, what was required? ID, it will create by itself. T name will be required. T type will be required. T date will be required. Oh, T date, there is no way of putting date, is it?
No.
Okay, as of now there is no, but you can do that, right? I mean, you can add a new field and you can just add it as a string. So T date, I'm not taking, is it? Create transaction, what do we have? We have T name, T type. Okay, source, destination, description, that's all. Okay, fine. So T date is just a string, don't have to worry about it. Yeah, but if you see the model, T date is null. Okay, it is non-nullable. This means we have to add,
You will have to.
and there is no default value. Okay, fine. You have to make one change to the form. Okay, so create transaction.html does not take a date as of now. So what we'll have to do, just add a date column to it.
I mean, when was this
Okay,
transaction made, right?
yeah. Okay, so I'll provide a date part to it. So what I'll do, I'll add another div.
Sir, cannot we just directly add the current date to the implementation part?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, yeah. That also.
Current date we can add. You want me to do that? Okay, we'll do
Yeah,
that.
please do that.
Okay, so we will we'll save this. So in the controllers, I'll have to, what I have to do is, I'll have to import date time object.
Yeah. This
Import.
will this will give us a real date time
Yeah,
object, right?
yeah. This will give us the real date. Okay, and uh, what we have to do is, I have a date. By the way, I've added that date part also. I'm not sure if I added here, but okay, I've added. Okay, so we have this import date time, and what we are going to put in is the date part, right? So in the model, what is it? T underscore date. Okay. And what is the order, by the way, after T type, right? T underscore date would be equals to uh, date time dot date time dot now.
I think you did in the txt file.
TXT file, is it?
Yeah.
Test.py. Which one? TXT file.
No, in last lecture I asked for
No,
the
no, no. Last
separately.
lecture, okay, I have given you, but in the last lecture, I said that I will add a external Python file which will just
You also
give
said
you
that
some
you
idea
will
on.
give us some
Yeah,
idea
I
in the book.
had added that. I'm not sure where. Okay, I think I added that. Okay, anyways, yeah, where are we here? Okay, so datetime dot now. This will give you the current date. Okay,
Mhm.
and I mean, I think this should be okay because I'm not sure that this will print in the string, but we'll see if there is any error, or maybe what we can do is just check it. Okay, so how do we
It
check
is
it?
a string.
It will be
String.
string, is it?
Yes, it will be a string.
Mm.
Okay, fine. So I'll just separate it out with city d underscore description user id. Okay, so let me check the model now. So id it will take by itself, name we are giving, type we are giving, date it will take by itself. Okay, delivery date is by, okay, so by default it will be to be updated. S underscore city we are giving, d underscore city we are giving. This is by default. Description we are giving, amount by default, and user id obviously we are giving. Okay, let us save this. Okay, so this is how we create the object. Now this object needs to be added to the session. So we'll write db dot
Session dot
session dot add new underscore trans. Okay, new underscore trans, and then db dot session dot commit. Okay, once we're done with this, what do we need to do? What should happen?
we need to be redirected to
Correct. Yeah,
the.
so we will have to redirect to user dashboard, obviously,
Okay, okay.
right? Because the user was the one who created, and you should be able to see that, okay, now transaction has been created. So what we'll do a return
Redirect.
redirect, and redirect will be done to, again, I'll use an f string because I'll have to also mention the user id, right? So it will
Who has
be,
created here?
yeah, so same thing, where is it? Same thing I did here, this thing. Okay, so this user, instead of this user, it will be user, because we have retrieved user, right? So it will be user.id. So it will go back to the same user. Okay, let's check this. Is there any error? Okay, some issue. Perhaps, yeah, no, now I did not forget. I had put it. Okay, so it is working now. Just go back and just reload it. Okay, now I'll just go to create page. Okay, so I should be able to see create, but why is it not showing the styling? 1 second. It is taking the static part, right? So in the static, where is the static file? Transact.css. It is already there, right? Why is it not showing? Okay, let's check. This should take the transaction, right? Okay, I'll see the design, why, what is the issue, but we should be able to create. Let us see if we can create. Transaction name is new test transaction, transaction type. So if you see, it is a drop down, right? So let's say it is inflammable.
So how you
Source,
created this drop down?
it is in
Because
the form. It is
okay,
in
in
the
the
form.
okay,
Okay.
option value. Okay.
Yeah. So we already created it. Okay. So when you can see to that session.
Mhm.
Okay. So it is, let's say, going from New Delhi to Kolkata. Description, testing the transaction. Okay. So if I click on create, it will create transaction in database and get back to user dashboard, right? So you can see the date is added. We can modify this date. You can just refer to the date time module and see how you can bring this to this format. All right. So it is pretty straightforward. I think you can use SCRF time and certain things. Okay. I think okay. Just I will refer to W3 schools for this.
Yeah.
Date time. Uh, W3 schools. Okay, not all the answers are right for W3 schools, but okay, you can refer for some cases. Okay, yeah. So this is what I was referring to, STRF time, and what we want is this format, right? User dashboard. So we want the date and the month. So let us see if we have something very similar to that. Yeah, something like this,
Percent.
right? So percent D and percent B,
Hmm.
right? Percent D and percent B, and that has to be used in this format. So we'll use this. Okay, so I've just copied this part from here. I'll go to my user dashboard HTML. Okay, user dashboard HTML, and where I printed the date, this thing, right? Trans the date. Yeah. So here I'll paste it, right? So it will dot strf percent b. Let me refer to that again. So we want 31st December and 31st and December, or December 31. So percent b space percent d. Okay, let us save this.
So capital B will give you the full.
Yep. String object. Okay, it has to be a date time object, is it? 1 second. Okay, so it has to be a date time object, by the way.
Year, month, and date. Something.
No, no, no. It has to be a date time object. So what we did, right? Date time dot now, right? So we have to provide it
Yeah.
as a date time object, and in our database, it is just a string. So it is not able to identify what is happening. Okay, so we can do that. Okay, so you just I mean, when you render this, the string, you convert it into datetime object with the module that I've shared on datetime, and then you format it. Okay, so don't have to worry about this as of now, but this is how you make changes, right?
So in the
Okay,
model we have given it as a string. So instead of that, we have to give as a date, db dot date.
yes, db dot date time,
Okay.
because you are storing date. I mean, db dot date would suffice because time
Date.
does not, is anyway irrelevant here. Okay, so
db dot.
I'm not sure why is it not showing, but I had shared a file. uh Okay, I'll make sure that I add this time. There is a file where I have written how to convert a string into proper date and store it into database.
Yeah, if
Okay,
you could share that.
yeah, right. So now you see, I see a new transaction, this, and it is appearing here, right? Okay, so it will obviously appear here because it was created by others, so it should appear in others dashboard. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll log it out. Okay, and then I log in with other credential, the admin credential. Okay, when I log in, I should be able to see that new transaction here, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so now you see that now our application is making more sense. Things getting added from the user, admin can see it. So now the next step would be to be able to update the transaction, okay, and to be able to delete the transaction. Okay, so that will do. And obviously to add endpoints for review, cancel, and update status.
So this is just for review thing you did, or you just created a transaction? I
No,
mean,
I
you
did a
create
see what is the default internal status to be
requested.
requested. So it will appear here. So every transaction, and that is what we intended, right? Every new transaction created should appear in requested transaction.
Mhm. Same for the requested book. Every requested book should
Yes,
go into. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let me just summarize very quickly what we did. Okay, so what we did today was we started off with the admin dashboard, but the dashboard was simply giving any random dashboard, or it was giving only user dashboard. So now what we did was, based on the type of user, we kind of redirected it to whether it want to go to admin dashboard or user dashboard. Since there is only one admin, we don't need to provide the user ID of admin, but there will be multiple users. So while rendering a user dashboard, we'll have to provide a specific user ID. So that is the reason we have dynamic endpoint here. Corresponding to these redirect statements, we have created two endpoints. That is, one is the not this one is the admin endpoint, and one is user endpoint. Both have their own intricacies. One is, in the user admin, you have to not only retrieve the transaction, retrieve the user based on the user ID, but you'll also have to retrieve specific user specific transaction and have to pass it in the user dashboard. All right, and why is user pass? Because we not only need username, but we need to add user ID to the create button. That is the reason I provided user. Okay, in the admin endpoint, what we did was, since there were three different lists and lot of manipulations happening on the HTML side, what we did some manipulations and kept the coding part in the admin endpoint, and we created three different lists querying the same table. Okay, but with different filters. So one with requested, quoted, and paid. All right, and these three are passed on to the admin dashboard. Okay, and then we created the transaction I mean create transaction endpoint, which will not only take I mean which will be not be which will not only be the static, but also have a dynamic part wherein it takes the user ID. Okay, this is to make sure that a particular user who is logged in is only creating the transaction, or the transaction is assigned to that particular user only, right? So internally it is using one to many relationship. What we have taken is, we have taken the to actually fill in the user sorry, transaction object. To actually create a transaction object, we have taken transaction name, type, source, and destination city and description from the form, and date of the transaction is taken from the date time module that stores the current time. All right, and the user ID for that transaction is taken from the user object, okay, that we passed on from this endpoint. All right, and remaining every attribute is the default attribute that the model that has been provided in the model. Okay, after that we okay, so once the user is added to the database and the commit is done, we redirect back to the user dashboard, so that we see the reflected, I mean we see that the new transaction is reflected on the user dashboard. Okay, based on these controllers, what we have done is, we have modified the user dashboard, wherein all the static part is converted into a template now, is using Jinja. So there is a for loop, also if loop. Same thing with admin, only that it is done three times to show three different lists. All right, and we have created I mean we have modified this create transact.html, wherein we provided the name attribute to each of its elements. Okay, so these are the things that we did today. With this, we are done with a lot of part of our project. We are done with C and R part of transaction. We are done with login registration. We are done with user, credentials of the user, type of the user. We are able to we manually were able to change the status of a particular transaction. Now the only thing that remains is to do the update and delete part of transaction, and to add logic to the admin, I mean the buttons that we see here, right? So that the statuses can be changed by the interface itself, by the admin. Okay, and then there will be additional thing that we will do is also do a search thing, right? So for example, if I want to go into my user, this is specifically for user. if I want to go into and search for a particular transaction based on, let's say, the source station, sorry, source city, destination city. So how do we do that, right? The mechanism for that will be very simple string matching. We don't want to go into a lot of details, things like regular expression, all those things will not do. We'll do a simple string matching and still will make a very good search functionality. Okay, so these are the things remaining, and we'll see this in upcoming sessions. Okay, is this all? Any doubt till this point?
Mm, no, sir. Sir, could you also, if you have time, could you show us the flash message thing, something?
That I'll do it in the next session, Manan. Okay, can you
Uh,
wait, because it's
okay.
getting late, pretty late.
Actually, I've tried to implement it, but I'm not able to render it in the HTML.
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay.
so I was
Uh,
facing issues, so that's was.
okay. Probably you can, focus on the other things. Okay, the things that we discussed today, and then the Flash thing. Because see, Flash again, it is a design aesthetic. We don't
Mm.
need it as of now, so don't focus on that.
Acha. So should I delete it or
No,
should I?
not like delete it.
I
I'll
mean,
give you I'll give you an approach to it in the next session. So then you can decide whether to keep it or not.
okay. But is it a good thing? I mean,
Yeah, it is
or,
obviously always, I mean, any external feature is always good, but see that you don't put a lot of time in all those things that is not core, and
Mhm.
so focus on core first, and then maybe we can discuss these things.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll anyway in the next session try to cover up those things. Okay, the Flash thing.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Mm,
Hello.
yes, yes, Ganesh.
So all
Ganesh.
these codings you are copying in GitHub notebook, sir.
Yes, this code will be pushed to GitHub. So I mean, at this point, GitHub has been updated till what we had when we started the session, right?
Okay.
Today's code will be updated by end of the day or tomorrow evening latest.
So
Okay.
yesterday, I mean, last session has been updated, right? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing at this point. Okay,
Mm.
go through each and everything that we discussed today, and this
So
should help.
this how we
Okay.
can implement this in our project, right? I mean, whatever you taught today, we
Hmm.
can modify it and implement
Yeah,
it in our project.
definitely. Yes. All these things what we did today in some sense, serve to the core requirements that you want to do.
Okay. So in the books part, when we try to create a book, so the content for the book, we have to store it in PDF format or I use, yeah, discuss this, but
Hmm.
uh, how
So
can we
you
go
keep it a
about
description, no? Keep it like a description. If
keep
it
it like
is too
this?
hard, see, other thing is when you store it as a description, you will have the flexibility to do whatever you want to do with data. PDF is something external, so it
Mhm.
becomes a bit limited. Okay, but then it is very easy to embed. Okay,
Mm.
also it actually looks like an ebook, so you have multiple pages added. So that's the thing. It has its own perks.
So when are we trying to create a book? At that
Hmm.
time, in the description of book content, we can do this lorem ipsum thing to get a random text for the book.
Yeah, definitely you can do. But lorem ipsum works.
Uh,
I mean,
will that
you
work?
see, it works
Yeah.
within HTML, but I'm not sure when you demonstrate it will work.
So that will be an issue,
So
right?
you can. So what you can do is when you show it, when you demonstrate it, maybe you can demonstrate creating a book, and let's say you're using this description part. What you can do is just take a random text from Wikipedia and paste it there while demonstrating create part.
Mm, okay. Create part. I mean, when I'm trying to create a book, at that time, content should be the
Hmm.
random from the Wikipedia. Is it?
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. If you're doing that, if PDF is there, then obviously you don't need anything.
Or you
PDF is
can
already.
have this was hard coding, right? If what you were telling, if the content you are
No,
trying to
not
say.
hard coding. Why? Because you're adding it dynamically, right? When you create the object, you're adding it. So why hard coding?
Okay.
PDF is hard coding. You're creating an object and you cannot change the content. But I mean, see, both are different and also in similar instance. That is the reason we are flexible in that, right? So you can either choose to do this or do that. Not an issue.
Mm. And also the book name and the section name will be can be fictitious or it has to be a
No, it can be fictitious. See, we had a test transaction, right? So it can be a test book.
no issue with the data being specific to book. I mean,
No.
that I'm confused if If you are asking for us to get a original book, or I mean,
No, no, no,
read
not at
content.
all. No, no.
Mm,
See, functionality will not be tested if you are able to get an original book, right? Can you
mm,
test CRUD with that? No. CRUD can be tested with simple description also. So that is the reason we are specific. I mean, we are saying that you can have a content of the book as description.
mm, okay. So name of the book and content of the book and all the things can be
Yeah,
fictitious as created
yeah,
by
yeah,
us.
yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
And all these CRUD operation will be done by the admin in our case.
Admin, yes.
Mm. User will just have to request for that.
Yeah, user or student, let's say. I mean,
Mm,
library
yeah.
meaning
Right.
student. So
Mm,
student should be able to view books, right? View all the books, issue them, maybe return them manually or issue them, right? So that is, and read them obviously. So I mean, should be able to read the books that he or she has access to.
mm.
Google
Yes.
Drive link to
Google Drive.
store book as PDF. Yes, you can.
Sir, can you share wireframe?
Which wireframe?
This LMS and this one also, which you are doing.
Already there.
Yeah, so this wireframe is already shared in the GitHub, okay, and the actual project wireframe is shared in your question statement. So you can see the fourth slide, third or fourth slide.
Sir, but I'm unable to get actually. I got only the PDF only one file.
Yeah, even on the PDF, you should be able to go to that link. You should. It is clickable.
Okay,
Can
sir.
you? He left. Can you show? Can you show what is happening on that side?
Yeah, actually, sir, one PDF. I have downloaded one PDF only. This is library management system, and other is
Okay.
not available to me.
Other meaning? What is the other one?
Then this wireframe.
Uh, No, so see, the everything, every code and wireframe related to what we were doing today, the logistic management system project is there on the GitHub.
Okay,
You won't get it officially. Officially meaning via mail or something like that.
okay. But for this library management system,
Hmm.
the original project,
Okay.
is there also wireframe for that?
Yes, yes, there is. Do
Sir,
you have the PDF for that? Can you share? Just
yes,
share
I
your
have.
screen and show me the PDF.
1 minute, sir.
And also, sir, when you were trying to refer to the create transaction page, you said that styling is not happening, right? There was some issue in the styling of the page.
Yeah, so that was because the we cannot use double curly braces within the if loop, for loop. Okay, so we'll find another way of it, and I'll show that. Okay.
So if we have to apply that to in our project, so we will have to.
Yeah. So this is the
Mm,
right. This is the wireframe, right? Who shared this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Harsh shared. So this is the wireframe for library management. Okay. Probably you downloaded the PDF very early when it was released. That time the wireframe was not updated. Wireframe got updated a bit later. So maybe that is the reason you now don't have it.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
But if you see in the chat now, just copy or share, sorry, save this link. This is for the wireframe.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So wireframe got updated a bit later than the release of question statement. Okay, so the Manan, we were talking about that conditional thing, right? So I mean, when I add the code, I will correct that, add that part into the code, and then upload it.
which one, sir? Sorry, I forgot.
This thing, no,
The
conditional rendering.
okay.
Hmm. Okay, fine.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sir.
Okay, then. So shall we close this session now? Just refer to the session again. Okay.
Okay, sir. Uh, yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Sir, hello. Are you there, sir?